Ladies and gentlemen, we are moving on to the final segment. We got one more special guest that we're going to bring on here. We're going to hit a quick little break, and then when we are back, Mr. Chiefs, Mr. Brian Westhues will be joining the show.
Dun, 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 dun.
Let's go. The Washington Commanders. There it is. Yeah, buddy. Welcome, Brian Westhues. How you doing, buddy? How you feeling?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me, guys. This is the first time I've ever done anything like this. I'm very excited. This is awesome.
You guys nice. We're happy to have you on here.
Definitely.
It's been a long time since we've had a chance to chat, man.
I know it. I know. We text every once in a while. You're really good about that. I'm a terrible friend. I don't ever do that.
I try to stay in touch.
Look, the only way I was able to lock Will down was to get him on the show every single week. So Wednesdays, I know where you are Wednesdays, all right?
Right. Yep. Yeah, he does. He does.
So, talk to us a little bit about you're a Chiefs fan. You, unlike us, have been enjoying success the last couple years.
Yeah. So Will's like, hey, talk to us about the last 3 AFC Championship games. I'm like, it's actually 4.
That's just we don't know what that's like.
Yeah, playoffs
success.
Right. We've certainly enjoyed a lot of success. Doesn't make the heart. It's one of those things where the Chiefs have been these guys who've gotten so close so many times, and there's game after playoff game after playoff game after playoff game of just, we're going to win this big. Look how big we're winning. And then in the second half, the Colts take it, the Steelers take it, or the Titans take it, or, last year the Bengals took it. We have so many of those stories. I mean, you talk to any Chiefs fan, that's all they'll tell you about is how many, we love the wins, but man, we talk about the losses way more.
Well, I understand. I get it. But look, you guys have had talent over the years. I mean, we know about what you have now, Patrick Mahomes. But you go back a couple of years, Alex Smith wasn't horrible. You go back before that, Trent Green, Priest Holmes, some of those guys. Marty Ball, we love.
Did love some Marty Ball.
Come on now, Neil Smith, Derek Thomas, going back further. How does now and your recent success, how does that compare to maybe what you've had before?
Oh, absolutely. Because we won a Super Bowl, it's completely different. We do have those guys that we love. I mean, those guys are legends. Neil Smith, Derek Thomas, those guys, you'll never replace those. I mean, you see those jerseys in Arrowhead every Sunday. Mm-hmm. And Trent Green, I mean, they had a run in 2003 that they should have won the Super Bowl, man. That was a really talented team. Priest Holmes and that line and that era when you needed lines and could run the football a lot more, those guys should have won a Super Bowl. But it just didn't happen. So when you talk about like Mahomes and Kelsey and Hill's gone now, but I mean, those guys are in completely different breath than those other guys. We've had so much talent around Kansas City ever since the 90s.
Yeah.
We've been very spoiled. Just not able to punch that ticket all the time. It's not like we're the Patriots by any means. So
right.
We very much, we love getting to the AFC Championship game and winning Super Bowls, but it is fun and we love our legends. We talk about them all day.
Yeah. Yeah, I was thinking about this. It's like, how do you what is the level of excitement to start another season after you've had so much success? Like, oh, we're so close. So then are you even more jacked up for the next season? Because you're like, we can do it again. We're that good enough to do it again.
Definitely the way we lost to the Bengals, we've had some hard losses. I can only speak for me. If you'd had me on last year for this kind of thing, I could have given you every stat in the world. We were gonna take the world by storm. This year, it's just, I think we're a little hungover and just really interested to see how the season's going to go, because it is, this is probably the most different team we've had in the last 5 years since Mahomes took over.
Right.
From a defensive standpoint and an offensive standpoint. So I think a lot of Chiefs fans are really curious to see how the first quarter of the season goes, and that'll kind of be going to dictate what we expect going forward. But yeah, this is a really different team. So, as far as being excited and are we going to take the world by storm? I'm sure if you talk to any Chiefs fan, we think we will. But it's actually very interesting just because there is so much turnover on the roster.
Yeah. So talk to me about some of that. And actually, you'll have to go into more of the defense that I'm not as aware of. Every NFL fan knows what you did on offense. Getting rid of Tyreek Hill and bringing in Juju and MVS. Talk to me about your thoughts on offense, and then teach us a little bit about the defense, like you're talking about some of the moves made.
Well, we'll start on offense. So last year, going into last season, we were hoping to get Juju Smith-Schuster, and we thought I think a lot of Chiefs fans would say we needed a good number 2. We had Tyreek Hill, and then there was a drop off. We kind of had some expectations that Mecole Hardman would be a little bit more of a playmaker than he was. He was kind of supposed to be the backup for Tyreek Hill when all that went down a couple of years ago, when we expected to lose him for a significant amount of time. That was going to be his replacement in the offense. And he really hasn't. He's done well. He's made plays, but he hasn't produced the way most Chiefs fans kind of hoped he would. Then we have Demarcus Robinson, who was also competing for that number 2 spot, who this year couldn't make a team. That tells you where we were from a wide receiver depth standpoint. So we very much were hoping to get another big guy who Mahomes could go to instead of just Hill, just Kelsey. Yeah. And so we get Smith-Schuster this year, and we're all excited. And then like a week later, we trade Tyreek Hill. So we're, okay, where are we? Right. Well, what are we doing?
Same level, right?
Margaret, MVS, where he showed some flashes in Green Bay, so I think a lot of us are kind of optimistic about him. And then Sky Moore's a rookie who we brought in,
Western Michigan.
Very much hoping that he can be show some big playability too. One of the things that we were actually disappointed with Tyreek Hill last year was he didn't really stretch. I mean, he's the fastest guy in the league. The most excited I've ever been was whenever we had a preseason game 4-5 years ago against the Falcons, and Mahomes, cocks back and throws one 70 yards down the field to Tyreek Hill with 3 guys on his tail. And you just kind of knew, like, the guy that could throw the longest, throwing to the guy who's the fastest in the league, this is going to be a good thing.
Yeah.
But we really didn't do that last year. I mean, anything we got to Hill was – and granted, it's a great talent to get him in space. Totally think that's a good way to go, but we didn't have anything – vertical threat wise. So we're hoping Sky Moore does that. We're hoping that, Juju Smith-Schuster helps take some of the heat off of Kelsey in the middle. We're hoping, Scantling can be that big 70-yard play guy that he was for Rodgers for 3 years.
Yeah. Well, so that's so interesting that you said that, because when I feel like the highlights that I know of Tyreek Hill are he's running a drag, he's running a slant, and he catches it. But then he just runs past everyone. But he's not. It's not deep throws, just like you said. And there was some times watching games where I'm like, "Oh man, once he caught it, he took off past everyone." But I'm curious how that offense is going to work without having that guy who just takes it and goes. Are they going to have to be more balanced with it and be a little bit more methodical down the field?
Absolutely. And I mean, what happened with that, and I think Cincinnati taught us that, was they could kind of put 4 on 2. So they had 2 guys bracketing Kelsey, 2 guys bracketing Hill, took away anything deep that they could do. And then they knew they could cover 1-on-1 with our other receivers, and our backs weren't terribly effective. And that's another thing where we have a guy going into his 3rd year who was a first-round draft pick 2 years ago at running back position, that in this day and age, taking a running back in the 1st round, they better be an absolute stud.
Yeah.
And that just hasn't been the case with CEH. And so, they're still trying to get him. I think I read an article today where they're trying to get him to be be able to run the ball 10 plays in a row. So, we've got the offensive line certainly to do that now. But, it's a little frustrating when you watch a play in the playoffs where we're 1st and goal from the, 2 and can't punch it in because we're trying screens. And, I mean, you live by the sword and you die by the sword. I'm not ignorant enough to know that, we won some games because Andy Reid is, the Mad Hatter down there in the red zone and can do some crazy stuff. But I think, old school football fans want to see us do 2 tackles, fullback, let's run it down the throat, and we have 1st and goal from 2. I think a lot of us still want to see that. So,
like Nicholas said in there in the comments, Christian Okoye time.
Oh, yeah.
Nigerian nightmare, baby.
Yeah, we would love to see that, or some old school Priest Holmes, Marcus Allen. We would love to see some of that come back.
There's two drafts.
Running backs.
Sorry. I'll be quiet. Sorry. No, you talk about 2 draft picks that you thought were going to really hit, and you're talking about it. CEH and down here in South Carolina, I know who Mecole Hardman was, and he was so fast on Georgia. And when you all drafted him, I'm like, you gotta be kidding me! They got that guy. I thought he was going to tear up. I thought he was going to take the league by storm. And I've been surprised how neither one of those really has elevated to where I thought they would be.
Yeah, and even on special teams, where Tyreek Hill was just an absolute game changer. If you punted the ball to him a few years ago, whenever he was back there, want Mecole Hardman to be that guy, and he just really hasn't had any huge, field position changing returns for us, or touchdowns would be the goal there too. But how fast he is. Maybe he can learn something. Contract years are undefeated. So if we run into one of those, maybe he does produce a little.
Sure. Yeah. So talk to me about the defense. You mentioned some changes in there. Tell us about that.
Lost Honey Badger. So I was a big Honey Badger fan. That was the jersey I got last year. So I was disappointed to see him go. From our safety position, it's been real interesting the last couple of years. We've had Dan Sorensen. I don't know if you guys are familiar with him. He was a BYU guy. So we kind of ran three safeties. We had three safeties that we rotate in. So it was Honey Badger, and then we get sorry if you guys can hear that.
Yeah, the baby is not happy.
Nothing like vacation.
Yeah.
We had so we'd rotate. Juan Thornhill was a Virginia guy, close to you guys, so you guys probably know what he can do. I think most Chiefs Kingdom is really big fans of him.
Yeah.
And we had Dan Sorensen we'd rotate in. So Dan Sorensen made some really highlight plays that we all remember very positively, but we also remember him for plays that he gave like big, safety's number one job, don't get beat deep, and how many times did we see him do that kind of thing. So both of them are gone. So we have Justin Reed coming in at safety. He's from the Texans. He can also kick PATs. He did that last week.
I saw that. Yeah, I saw that.
That came out of nowhere.
Got to protect that kicker in the preseason.
He said Reed was just like, hey, if you get an opportunity in the game, you can do it. And he let him do it, and he made it. He was like, oh, okay.
That's hilarious.
I'm glad they're having a little fun. And he made it. So, it was a good decision, apparently. We still lost the game, but, we can't blame him for that. So our secondary looks much different because we have Juan Thornhill now. He was hurt last year a lot. We thought he'd recovered and wanted him to get some more reps, and that just didn't happen. So hopefully this year you hope that he's completely healed and getting those reps. We're working with Reed. Reed's been pretty solid for the Texans. Hope he takes another step with us. We drafted in the first round a guy named Trent McDuffie out of Washington. So, we're hoping that he can show the same kind of first year, have the first kind of year that L'Jarius Sneed had last year. We were all really pleased with him. We lost Javarius Ward, so we don't have him as a cornerback anymore. I think we lost a couple years ago, Kendall Fuller. I think you guys picked him back up. So that was a good pickup for us for that Super Bowl run. Yeah. So from the secondary standpoint, we look a lot different. And then up front, we drafted a Purdue guy named Karlaftis. So one of the big problems we've struggled with is getting a pass rush for the front four. And I know it's a struggle for a lot of people. Maybe not you guys with Montez Sweat and Chase Young, but for the rest of the world, we have a lot of problem getting to the quarterback. So even with Frank Clark I don't think we've probably gotten what we paid for out of him. His contract is pretty steep. Chris Jones just got a pretty big contract a couple years ago, and he's taking up a lot of double teams. But that's big from the defense standpoint. So we want to be solid in the secondary and get a lot better pass rush than we've been getting. So we've got a lot of new names, and we kind of hope they can do that.
You've got a name at linebacker now. Ab keeps coming in and out, so I don't know if he's going to hear me when I say this, but Sean, do you know who the Chiefs picked up at linebacker in the draft? Leo Chenal.
Out of Wisconsin? Oh,
They did. That was the guy who was on here before wearing the Redskin. Well, actually, it's a Commander jersey. He loved this guy. He raved about him. So you all picked him up. I saw that on your depth chart. The other guy you got is linebacker, and so he's going to be your what to watch. You picked up Jermaine Carter, linebacker from the University of Maryland. So he's going to have some skill here.
He was the Maryland. He was EJ. What was his name?
EJ Henderson.
EJ Henderson. When I think of Maryland linebackers, I think of EJ Henderson.
Player. He was a good player. Yeah, Sean, I cut you off last time. I think you had a question, so let me defer to you and let you ask.
You started talking Maryland, and I just totally just went left. I don't know, man. No. I wanted to ask you. So you talked about your defense, and I want to get to this preseason game, but you mentioned CEH. I was a running back in high school, and we know what he came off that LSU team that obviously Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson. So, and there was a question actually Nathan asked in that offense where you have Tyreek, and now you don't, but you have Juju, you have MVS, you have Kelsey. Do you need the the running back we were two tight ends, fullback. Wham right up the gut. Do you need that type of running back in that offense, or can somebody else fill in? Because CEH was hurt for a good period of time, wasn't he?
Yeah, we had some guys fill in. Derek Gore did a really good job. Jarek McKinnon started to get some carries later on in the year. we definitely wanted more production out of him. I mean, if you look at our years with Kareem Hunt, I mean, he was that back. So
Exactly.
we had some great years with him, and then he, we had to let go of him. I mean, that was just, there's no way you don't let go of him for that. But I mean, from an offensive production standpoint, when we had that power back there, who was also so versatile and could catch the ball out of the backfield and make plays, I think that's a huge part of the offense. And from the standpoint of having the defense have to play up, and then those linebackers play near the line of scrimmage. So whenever Travis Kelce, Juju Smith-Schuster, whoever is going to be playing in the middle, then that kind of makes that a little more open. Unless those safety comes down, that's when I talk about the deep threat, having somebody who need to go over top, because there were, are you going to pick your poison of, we're not going to let this running back who's versatile and can make plays out of the backfield, and it's a big guy and it's going to take a lot to get him down, versus explosive play. So that was the formula for so many years that we didn't get to see as much last year. But yeah, I think having a big back like that is important, who can produce like that.
Gotcha. You've been sitting here. I'm so envious because you've just been rattling off names of players. I'm like, oh yeah, he was good. Oh yeah, he was good. Like you just listed these running backs, like, and we're just trying to get some good players that people know about, some household names.
I mean, I think it's Andy Reid too. I mean, I can't remember his name. We had so many running backs with like just the different name, but the running back who should have won Super Bowl MVP, and his name escapes me, but I mean, he was like an undrafted free agent, and he came out and just had.
Oh, it was like the Williams kid.
Yeah, Williams.
Yeah, Damian Williams.
Thank you. Yeah. Undrafted free agent, just came out of nowhere and absolutely filled in and produced. So, it doesn't have to be a big name. Like most Chiefs fans would say, it doesn't have to be a first round pick. You just need somebody that you can plug in there, and kind of know the playbook and know what to look for.
Right. So the AFC West is probably the strongest division in the NFL right now.
Aside from the NFC East, right?
Right. Yeah. Well, aside from what, we're the black and blue division here.
You know what it is. Let's go.
So you've got some teams that are spending money. You've got some teams with some young talent that's really emerging. Is there any team you're worried about coming on your heels here? Like, is there a chance that the Chiefs are going to regress, or because there's some new guys, some new blood here, they're going to take over? Who are you most worried about as your opponents?
Yeah, it's a loaded division. The Chargers have made strides in the last year. Herbert looks like he's going to be a Pro Bowler again. He's legit, and they got weapons around him, and they do a really good job. And I think, we've kind of tightened this up from a defensive standpoint on linebacker. We got Nick Bolton now, who does a really good job. And I'm a Mizzou guy, so of course I'm his biggest fan.
Yeah.
But what the Chargers have done against us successfully a lot is, get, whether it's Melvin Gordon or, whoever else they want to put back there, just putting them out of the backfield, and they've killed us. So the Chargers are always a threat. And they've just got so much speed. That's the thing in the AFC West this year. I mean, it's kind of keeping up with the Joneses, and we got Tyreek Hill, and everybody else thought they needed to go get speed. So, I mean, everybody's just so fast now. The Broncos have Judy. The Raiders had Ruggs, but I don't think he's going to play.
Yeah, right? I don't think he'll ever play again.
Okay.
But they got Devontae Adams now.
Yeah. So,
right.
The speed there is, I think it's much faster in every other division too. So, but there's so much turnover. So we know what the Chargers are going to do. We know Brandon Staley's I'm going to go for it on 4th down, and he's going to roll the dice. And so that's been successful. So, we're always on the edge of our seat when we play the Chargers. I hesitate to say we think we're going to regress behind them. Having a Chiefs hat on every year for the last 15 years, 16 years, 20 years, whatever, most outlets, whenever they're doing the predictions, are Chargers first, Chiefs second, even after we won the Super Bowl, after all that. So there's like we very much have a chip on our shoulder, and I would be remiss to say like, oh yeah, the Chargers might win this year, because that's kind of Lucy football, Charlie Brown, you guys know.
Yes.
But they are real. I mean, they're a very talented team. Staley's a very good coach. He's at cutting edge. He's very much one of those hot names you're going to hear. So they're for real. We've seen Josh McDaniels before whenever he was with the Broncos. So now he's with the Raiders. Derek Carr is with the Raiders. He's always fun to beat. Him and, his brother David Carr, who always picks the Raiders to win everything because of his allegiance to his brother. We always get a kick out of that in Kansas City.
Yeah.
But they've got weapons. I mean, Waller's for real. And then their defense is, they've got Max Crosby, and Who else did they? I feel like they got another pass rusher that's like really good.
Chandler Jones.
That's right.
Chandler Jones. Yeah, that's the one. So,
Yeah.
we're definitely going to be up against it there. The Broncos. Oh, and sorry, going back to the Chargers, they added Khalil Mack. So,
yes,
on their defense. And if Derwin James can stay healthy for once, I mean, that defense is real.
I think it goes and comes with Derwin James on defense for them. But I do want to ask you something because you mentioned you're a Mizzou guy. Yeah. Speaking of the Chargers, they got Roundtree the third. How you feeling about that? Because he was a monster in college.
Again, another back out of the backfield who can kind of hurt us if we don't have linebackers that can go sideline to sideline. But I think Nick Bolton is that guy who can do that. And, I think, I don't know if they ever played. I think they were on the same team. So, he knows him. Roundtree is it's fun to watch him. Drew Lock, I thought he would have the level of success he had. I'll leave it at that. But, I do wish him well in Seattle. I wish all those Mizzou guys well. Roundtree was fun to watch too.
Mm-hmm. And you got Beatty with the Ravens this year. So I've been keeping an eye on them. I gotta shout out my guy, Anthony Handy, who's a diehard Georgia fan. He does a little SEC show, and he always talks about the top tier. And I'm like, yo, you leaving out Missouri, you leaving out Vandy, you leaving out some of these other teams, man. They got talent, man. These guys can play.
I mean, we do. But there's a ton of talent in the SEC, even from top to bottom. I mean, the Mizzou has had so many first-round draft picks. I want to say like as many first-round draft picks as besides like Alabama and Georgia, I think, as anybody since we joined the SEC. So we've always got guys that can just go play, but we just don't have the top to bottom rosters to compete with the Alabamas and the Georgias year in and year out. We've made a couple good runs, but it's hard to.
They had more success than people thought. Especially in football, they really did. There's a lot of talk of like, oh, well, they'll be a good basketball, team to bring in here. But they've really competed a lot more in football than people. And our basketball team is not the and the basketball team went in the other way. The Mizzou is at that other Columbia.
I was about to say they can rest easy that they're in the good Columbia, not the Gamecock.
They do like South Carolina because there's two major colleges with Columbia, and there's two major colleges that use USC as their That's because the where I'm at, it gets confused as to where they are calling themselves the real USC. Okay. Yeah.
But they do.
We all know who the dominant South Carolina team is, and it's not the football team. It's a lady basketball team.
True. Yeah. They do always hype. So South Carolina and Mizzou play every year, and they're like, oh, it's the Mayor's Cup, and the Mayors put like different things in the line and stuff, and they try and hype it up, but it is just so far away geographically. It's hard to kind of get hyped up for that game.
Hey man, I've been to a South Carolina game, and our mutual friend Ian he came to a South Carolina Mizzou game, so we've made that trip. It's fun. It's a lot of fun. It is very far, but it's a lot of fun.
I can dig it. But look, we got you on here, and we so appreciate you giving us that insight on Kansas City. I feel like I kind of know. I feel like I'm more envious than I was before you came on the show. Because we don't know what a good quarterback is. So
I think once we get you guys to the playoffs this year,
we're hoping. We're hoping. Yeah, he's the best we've had in years.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I think so too. I think Washington, given the division they're in, and take that for what it is, I think you've got a really good chance to make it back to the playoffs this year, and then who knows what could happen from there.
Right. So Sean, I got to tell you,
with Ron Rivera.
Yeah. Well, right. Health is key. Yeah.
Yeah, so Brian is a very honest fan. He called me. We texted the day after Alex Smith got traded, and we got on the phone and talked about it. And he was saying, he's like, man, I'm so depressed that we're losing Alex, but you're going to love him. He's going to be great for you. So he's a pretty honest, and he's, he can cheer you up a little bit, especially if you get any type of ex-Chiefs players, that he'll definitely hype them up.
It was a fun fun period.
It was a try.
Right.
Hey man, he did something incredible for you guys that that was phenomenal. Like, hey, he might dive and then he comes back and plays in the NFL for you guys. Right. That was incredible. I've still got an Alex Smith. The last two Chiefs jerseys I have, Tyrann Mathieu and Alex Smith, and I still wear them. I'll still wear them.
He's a Chief legend for life. He doesn't have that here. He was struggling before he got hurt, but absolutely he should be a Chiefs legend for life, and good for him.
Yeah. So look, let's go into it. We know why you're here. You're here to talk about your team. We're facing them in Arrowhead this weekend. Washington travels to Kansas City for the second preseason game. Unfortunately, the first one, y'all came up short to the Bears, 19-14. But you had your starters play early, and they dominated, shut the Bears out, if I'm not mistaken. And then obviously the backups came in, and those are the type of things that happen. What are you looking for coming into game 2? How much do the starters play, if any? And pointers. What are you thinking?
Usually by now I know who's playing and who's not, and I haven't heard that. I'm not on Twitter anymore, so I used to be much more on it with, and like I say, more than half my Twitter follows were Chiefs guys who I would always just know stuff because I do Twitter, but I'm not on Twitter anymore. So I expect Mahomes to play a couple of drives, if that. What I'm looking for is him to throw to our new guy. I think Juju's hurt, so I would like to see, our young guys like Sky Moore get some touches. I'd like to see CEH make some plays. Now, Andy Reid doesn't tip his hand with a lot of plays that'll get guys in the open because he saves those for the regular season and even later on in the regular season. But would like to see some of those kind of line it up, not power eye, but pro formation, fullback, and let's see if we can, run the ball with CEH a little bit, or at least find some ways to use him productively. So getting them some touches without, Travis Kelce being a bailout for him, because who wouldn't use Travis Kelce as a bailout? But yeah, I'd like to see guys who I don't know get the ball and do things with it. And then from a defensive standpoint, just kind of like what we did, shut out and, have our secondary make some plays and have them communicating and seeing those guys talking on the field quite a bit, especially since so many of them are new.
Yeah, I like that. And when you look at us, like you said, you have positive things for us. We're probably not going to – Wentz is probably not going to start that much. But when you come into this game, what are some things like you want to work on when you look at how we're looking from our first game?
Well, you guys have two really good wide receivers that are going to really challenge our secondary. So what we can do with, how do we look versus man with them? How do we look, when we run, cover 3, cover 4 against those guys? Where are our soft spots? Where are we able to cover? McLaurin and Curtis Samuel, you guys have as well. So those guys can make plays anywhere from the field. So we want to see if we can stop those guys, marginally slow them down. And Wentz is, he's been in the league forever at this point. Now I'm getting old to say that because what's he been there? 10 years, almost 10 years, 9 years, something like that. So
we might only be at like 5 or 6.
Do what?
I think he came in 2016, 2017?
I thought it was 2013.
No, he's younger than that. Yeah.
I get redheads,
Yeah.
But he's been there for a while, so he'll make some good decisions, and it'll be a good test for our team because I think our last one was the Bears. So a lot of new players.
You're not getting tested at all together,
so they're figuring themselves. They got a new coach. I think we have somebody who knows what they're doing, and just kind of look what we're going to do against a competent offense.
Yeah. I actually think we're going to see the starters play a decent amount this game. I think we might see them go well into the second quarter because I don't think they're going to play in the third quarter or the third preseason game. So I think this may be a chance to really see. And just like you mentioned, we have some weapons on offense that if you want to see how your secondary does, we got some guys who can stretch that secondary. Yeah. We're really hyped about a rookie wide receiver, Jahan Dotson, our first round pick. He's making some plays that they're looking for. I'm really excited to see your offense versus our defense, not because we can compete. I think our defense needs to see what it's like to play against a professional offense, against a professional quarterback. We did not look good last week against Baker Mayfield, and now we get to go up against Patrick Mahomes. I think that's good for us to get that type of competition, out there and kind of see what it's like to have somebody. What if we lost? What if we lost?
I think we lost him.
What if the internet cut out or something? I'll let him know join back when he can.
Yeah.
But yeah, he said internet dropped.
Okay.
So I'm also I really do want to kind of see how does our defense play against them, knowing that they're not going to be exotic out there and do a whole lot, but I think it would be a good test for us. I'm going to say this a repeat from last week. I want to see a play from Jamin Davis. If Ab's saying he's seeing him on the field looking lost, that's concerning. That's scary. We can't have that. So I'd love to see him play, make something so we can be like, all right, that's good. We got something there. I also want to see how does Gibson come back in this game.
Yes.
but you talked about earlier that is it in his head? Is he going to be able to run hard and be safe out there and all that? So I do want to see that. And then lastly, I'm looking at our tight ends. I think, we featured them a lot last week. I want to see more. I know Cole Turner won't be playing. I think John Bates may be back, but I want to see if we're able to get something out of that.
Yeah. No, I agree. And you were looking at, D line and defense against that offense. I want to look at our secondary.
Yeah.
You talked about Kendall Fuller, they got him. They threw a touchdown on him. And we've been hearing all this great stuff. And now you go up against another opponent and we see what really is happening. So I want to see him. And no, they don't have Tyreek, but you still have Juju, who's a quality receiver. He comes in there. I'm really looking at Sky Moore out of Western Michigan. I mean, I've heard nothing but good things about him. So I want to see what he contributes and how he looks against our defense. And then on the flip side, Brian Robinson, like you talked about Gibson, and maybe I need to be calmer. I need to maybe give him a benefit of the doubt. But as a running back, I have no sympathy for other running backs. Sure. You know what I mean? So in my mind, welcome back.
Welcome back.
That's right. That's just like your offense. It's going to drop this week. I had to talk something. No, but I'm looking. I was looking for your offense. He talked about the D line and how they're looking up against your kind of professional offense. I want to see how our secondary looks. You don't have Tyreek, but you still have Juju, who's quality. You still have.
I don't think he's going to play this. I think he's hurt, so I think they're going to hold him out this week.
Okay. Well, but Sky Moore, another guy that you mentioned, you know what I mean? And I've been hearing a lot of good things about him as well. So I want to see how we look because the guy that you talked about, Kendall Fuller, he has been just showing up. At one point in training camp, he had like 4 straight days with a pick. And then we see what happens. Sam Darnold throws a TD on him, on the second drive of the game. So I really want to see how they do. And then I want to see our running game with Brian Robinson, the rookie, against y'all's defense, y'all's D-line, and y'all's front seven. Because I really want to see was it a fluke last week? Because Carolina's defense at one point was ranked, the top defense in the league beginning last year. So, but I want to see what we look against a team. You guys are perennial playoffs. You talk about last 4 AFC championships. So you know what it takes to win and that type of thing. I want to see how we look against y'all on that. And obviously, I'm a homer. You guys, you're Mizzou. We'll talk about Maryland and South Carolina. I'm from Raleigh, North Carolina. I'm a Tar Heel through and through. So I want to see my guy Sam Howell. We all saw what he did at the end of last game, but I'm not naive to say, he was against 2s and 3s. Okay. He was doing this stuff in college. So it's not any different in my opinion, but still you have to show up. I've seen people that can do it and have not shown up to do it. So you have to show up. I want to see what he does against another different competition and continue to go and maybe give him a longer period of time to get in there if at all possible. So I'm eager to see just both sides of the ball, and how we play out, and then the kicking game, because Joey Slide missed the daggone extra point, and we have terrible luck with kickers. So
yes,
that's one thing I think Andy Reid's been really good at. I mean, there's been guys where like we've had and like, why are we getting rid of this guy to get this other guy? Who's this other? Oh, he's really good. Okay, good job. Well, we've I mean, it's always fun. It's always good to see your team's old kicker still in the league somewhere, and you have other guys. That wasn't always the case. We've had our troubles with that in the past too. So it's good to see we've got some guys we can count on.
Yeah. Harrison Butker made his debut in the NFL against us, and I think he kicked the game-winning field goal to beat us. And I remember being like, "Well, who's this guy? I mean, some rookie."
We were like, "Who is butt kicker? What's
right?
This?
Exactly, yeah." And then he blasted it, and he's been a stud ever since. You're just like, man. There they go again.
Yeah, last year against the Chargers, he had to kick 3 game-winning field goals because one was like the timeout. There was like a penalty. So like no time on the clock. He had to kick 3 like 50-some-odd yarders in a row, and he made all 3 of them.
Drilled them all.
Yeah, we are thrilled with that.
Now, listen, I want you to know, if it comes down to a field goal game with the Chargers, you don't have to worry. They have Dustin Hopkins.
That's right.
He's awful. He's a 50-50 kicker.
Yeah.
50% of the time he'll hit.
Staley goes for it on 4th all the time anymore, so maybe that's why.
Yeah, he's definitely going to continue that because Dustin, and we gave him the benefit of the doubt. We gave him every single chance in the world, and still didn't. And then ended up cutting him for a guy named Blewett. So we just don't know what we're doing at kicker right now.
I'm just so glad we're playing you guys in the preseason when the game doesn't matter. I'm just gonna say that.
Yeah,
I'm very happy.
Last year when we had to play, we were like, oh no.
Oh, here we go. Did we play like Aaron Rodgers and then you guys, or was it like
something like that?
It was like back to back. It was like, oh,
you should get a comp pick for that.
I know. That's what I'm saying.
Look, they gave us the 32nd worst schedule, the worst schedule in the league this year. So I think that's
we'll take
that's
it.
Love
Unless
it.
Daniel Snyder gets you right.
Right.
God, can we just? All right, we got to go.
You can make us depressed.
Yo, real quick before we let you go, let's go ahead and do it. Before we go, we always do a kind of little prediction, if you will. Okay. I know it's preseason, so it's super hard to really gauge who's going to be in and what's the score. What do you think the score is going to be? You guys win, lose. What is your stand?
Chiefs fans, I'll stay homer on this one. I'll say 23-19 Chiefs.
Ooh.
Some weird preseason type score,
Right. I'm going 24-23. My guy Sam Howell comes in the clutch again. 2 weeks in a row, baby. Let's go Washington.
Yeah. I'm gonna say I'm looking to see the Sam Howell versus Chad Henne battle here, and I think I'm just gonna go with Sam Howell because I think he's gonna want it more. I think there's more motivation for him to play better. So
you don't think Henny's playing for a spot?
I don't think so. I think he's solidified it.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna go 19-15 Washington.
That's a good
Weird
preseason
numbers.
score.
Yeah, exactly. Weird numbers.
A couple safeties in there or something.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh man, yo, I absolutely appreciate you coming on here and talking Chiefs with us. So awesome. Good to get that perspective. You knocked it out of the park, man. Like you said, if it was last year or you knew all this, you were killing it today.
Yeah.
So anytime you want to come on, definitely come on here, talk football with us. We'll chop it up because you came correct, man. Appreciate
awesome,
you
guys.
Yeah.
I had a great time. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, man.
Yeah, B. So
enjoy the family. Is that you're visiting family in Louisville?
Yeah,
right?
I'm at the in-laws right now.
That's what I thought.
Okay, yeah.
Awesome.
That's what's up. Well, look, we appreciate them letting you have a couple minutes with us so you can talk this game. So I know how that is. But yo, we appreciate you, man. Hey, till next time, man.
All right,
good luck this weekend.
Bye, Brian.
Thanks for watching. If you liked that clip, be sure to check out the other great content from the Let's Talk Football community. And as always, please like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you'll be notified when more great content like this becomes available.